Welcome to the PharmaVoice Editor's Take video series, recorded live at the DIA 2014 annual meeting in San Diego, hosted by Taryn Grome, editor of PharmaVoice. In this episode, Taryn meets with Mark Lanfear, global practice leader for Life Science Solutions, Kelly Outsourcing and Consulting, and Kevin Duffy, global vice president, Global Solutions Life Sciences, Kelly Services.
Welcome to the 50th anniversary of the DIA.
Thanks, Darren. It's nice to be here.
Great to be here.
Let's talk about talent. Finding the right talent for the job is one of the top concerns for executives across all industries, particularly in the life sciences. So what are some best practices to finding the right person with the right skill sets?
Yeah, great question, Taryn. The ecosystem of work has changed vastly, especially in life sciences, as we've talked about. And because of that, it's not just finding the right talent, which we all know there's a gap and it's a lot of limitations, but once you're finding it, acquiring the human capital that your company specifically needs. A couple of best practices that come in are, first, stratifying what you're looking for in your workforce. So dividing out strategic acquisition from tactical acquisition. One's not more important than the other, but you have to decide where you are in your business evolution to decide where you're going to spend your resources. Once you do that, then it's really aligning business strategy with HR practices. And where we tie that together is strategic workforce planning. That's what allows you inside your corporation to send the right message across different levels of leadership so that your goals are linked.
Yeah, and just to add on that, as we all know in the life sciences, and what we learn a lot when we come to the DIA each year is that, there's great competition for high quality talent in the life sciences sector, and that adds another level of complexity to finding that right talent at the right time. And so it's also very important that you have the right skill sets at the recruiter level, so they understand the nuances of the different roles that are required within the drug development process. Life sciences is a highly complex, business, and the talent that you need is very specialized, and there's a lot of competition for that talent. So having the right recruiters with the right skill sets in the right geographies is, at the end of the day, really going to dictate and drive your success.
Those are excellent best practices and great insights. Thank you for sharing. Let's talk about mergers and acquisitions throughout the industry. Things are consolidating, and it's causing a great deal of disruption. And the clinical trial sector is not immune to the fallout from this consolidation. What does this mean for clinical trial staffing now and in the future?
Well, let me just start, and I'll let Mark jump in. One thing I think you have to understand first and foremost is what's driving the merger and acquisition. Why are two companies, contemplating coming together in the first place? And there could be a full array of reasons why, and we hear about that every year here at the DIA and throughout the year. The number of mergers and acquisitions within life sciences is probably second to none. And so that, again, adds a level of complexity, as you mentioned, to retain your talent. Because as two companies come together, maybe culturally there'll be some differences. Certainly the geographies where the company's headquarters, is it an EMEA-based pharma company, or is it a US-based company? So you're going to always have those challenges as well. But as part of the drug development continuum, what we hear a lot about is your ability to stay nimble, to stay flexible in addressing your needs. Because one of the things that will happen during an M&A is they'll look at the trials that are ongoing and try to do some rationalization around, phase 3 versus phase 2, or perhaps if they have two trials that are going on with similar indications and endpoints, one of those trials may have to come to an end. So I think what you see a lot in this sometimes disruptive process of M&A, where it slows down the drug development pipeline. So I think it's very, very important that companies begin to further adapt their ability to stay flexible, stay nimble, especially during that 6 to 9 months during the actual merger of the two organizations.
Yeah, and I think Kevin hit a lot of the salient points right on the head. I think there's a couple of positives that come in. So in the past decade, we saw the sponsor companies conglomerate and create some best practices. And now we've seen some of our, the cottage industry we've seen some of us big companies come together and do the same sorts of things. With the gap in talent, one positive I see to a lot of the merger and acquisition activities is that some of the talent has been conglomerated together. And so we are sharing practices, we are sharing products, and we're sharing the talent now. And so we're seeing sort of almost a co-development occurring, and the use of human capital, which is limited in our industry, can now be shared a little bit more. So there's been positive and negatives to both.
Okay, I have a question for both of you now, finally. In your opinion, what are the most critical workforce issues today?
Well, first and foremost, it's just the way talent is looking to be engaged, right? You know, with this next generation that's, you know, graduating, you hear a lot about the Generation X or Generation Y, and the way they want to engage with their employers has changed dramatically from the traditional methodology. The younger workforce is looking to be a little bit more independent, maybe work as independent contractors, maybe be freelancers. They're using their online communities, online networking to socialize themselves and find the roles they want. They're a little bit more less flexible about the geographies they will live in and their willingness to relocate. So these are true challenges and are profoundly changing the way we go out and try to look and find this talent. And the other thing is, you have to look at talent now more holistically. And you have to be able to look at this constellation of choices from, independent contractors to temp to perm to, statement of work type individuals, contingent workforce. So it can no longer just be one way to look at it. You really have to come at it from what we call a talent supply chain management perspective.
Yeah, and I think a couple of things, whether they're best practices or realizations that we've had that are influencing us, are, to Kevin's point, technology has changed how workers engage with the work, and it enhances sometimes the things that they do. It makes some things easier, but we can't let the technology take over for the human interaction. We really have to use it to advance the work. And then I think secondly, it used to be that employer and employee were linked together. And now what you really have is that the worker is attached to the work and decoupled from the employer. So now there's the strong relationship is between the worker and the type or accomplishment of the work that they're doing. Very much decoupled now, in the trends that we're seeing, decoupled from worker and employer. So I think this is an interesting trend that we're seeing, and in the most sort of the historic, more rigorous corporations that have been out there, I think they're going to see they need to become a little bit more flexible in their HR practices.
Yeah.
I want to thank you both for joining us for our Editor's Take video program.
Our pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Additional Editor's Take videos, as well as podcasts, white papers, webinars, and more are available at www.pharmavoice.com.